It is Q&A time for May. I only got one question this month, and that was, in essence, how can you better parent your child depending on their Enneagram type? Before going into that question in depth, I want to say from the start that most people, myself included, consider my perspectives on parenting and my parenting style to be rather radical. So I'm just putting that out there first so that you know that. With that being said, in parenting my child, I really don't try to force her into any sort of behavior, or I don't even, force isn't the right word. I don't even necessarily try to shape certain behaviors. I don't try to guide her down any one particular path, because my belief about that is I am lessening the opportunity for her to have authentic exploration of who she is and to develop her own unique, independent identity outside of me and the way that I live my life and what I think. Distinct personality traits do begin to show as young as 2 to 3 years of age, and they usually aren't set in stone until about 15 years of age. This is what currently the community of psychologists and those who specialize in personality research and study agree on. In what I have noticed and observed, I agree with that as well. Because this is the case, we have to keep in mind that between birth and 15 years of age, there is going to be so much self-exploration, so many different experiences as kids go off to school and move up in grades and get new classmates and lose classmates, or if they move and they meet new people, as they have interactions with their family members, positive and negative, as they grow and start to assert themselves a little bit more to separate from mom and dad. And then the reactions that they get from mom and dad when that happens is going to shape everything. Circumstances that the family could go through if one or both parents loses a job and they go through a time of financial crisis, if there's a divorce, things of that nature. All of these things are going to go into shaping a child as they grow between birth and 15 years old. So because of that, I hesitate to exactly and definitively put my child yet into a particular category. I will say that I tend to keep a ballpark because it gives me a better idea of how I might relate to her, not necessarily to guide her. And there's a difference there. I can relate to her in a way that fosters a trusting relationship between the two of us, so that if she needs something, if she needs guidance, she can come to me and feel safe about asking for it. And she can trust that what I give her would be to the best of my ability in her best interest. I don't necessarily offer a whole lot of guidance based on kind of the ballpark figure that I have for her, because A, I could be wrong, and B, it's not my job to teach her how to be the version of a well-developed and responsible adult that she's going to be. And this is where I get a lot of pushback on that, because we think when we raise children, well, of course it's our job to make sure that they grow up and that they're healthy adults. And yes, I think that parents are intended to gently aid in that process. But what that looks like for each child is going to be drastically different. There is no black and white cookie cutter perfect adult that's interacting with society in a healthy way, so to speak. That's going to look different for every child. They kind of have to find their own life path, if that makes sense. What I like to do with my child is I give her lots of options with everything. And the options are helpful because she's 4 years old. And so what that's doing is it's giving her an opportunity to start exercising her own will, getting to know who she is, what she likes, what she wants. It's giving her an idea of boundaries. These are things that she has the control over versus other things that were outside of those options that she doesn't have control over. And there are sometimes like consequences put in place. Like if we're talking about choices for behavior, I'll put consequences in place for all of the different choices that she has. And I'll say, well, you have this choice, and this would be the consequence if you choose it. And then there's this choice, and that would be the consequence if you choose it. And then I let her make her decision. And if the consequence is something that I need to enforce, I enforce it so that she understands the process of, I made this choice, me as an individual person. This was the consequence that I knew was going to happen, and now I'm going to deal with that consequence. Consequences can be positive or negative. So when I say consequence, I don't necessarily mean a punishment or something bad that happens to her. I mean, a consequence is just an end result. You have done this and it's caused this. This is the consequence, the result of what you've done. So I approach her with that parenting style. I'll give you some examples. I do it with very simple things. What do you want for dinner? I give her options. I don't come in and say, this is what I'm making for dinner tonight and you're going to eat it or you're going to go to bed hungry. I give her options. If she doesn't want to eat what I eat, I don't mind making her something that she wants to eat. I'll make my dinner and then I'll make her dinner and we'll sit down together and we'll eat what we want to eat. I give that as an example to say that even though she's very young, I'm trying to get this mindset into her that she chooses. She doesn't get to wait and let life happen to her unless she chooses for that to happen. But if she does, there will be consequences, again, positive and negative, that come from that. So she has she has the ability to feel like she has some sort of control over her life and that she is her own person, that what she wants matters, what she thinks matters, and what she does affects things for herself and for others. That's very, very important. To me, it's more important than trying to guide her down a path that I think is a healthy version of what I think her Enneagram or Myers-Briggs type is. With that being said, they are making tests now and books and materials for children that are younger to get them started on the Enneagram, at least kind of get an idea of what it is and how to just tell what I call the different flavors of people. Children can understand generally the difference between somebody who is very perfectionistic and they have to have things a certain way and there's right and there's wrong and there's lots of rules, and somebody who is very quiet and likes to read lots of books and doesn't talk much and keeps to themselves and seems very, very shy. They may not understand that that's personality, but they can understand that there are just little clusters of distinct behaviors. So they've got a lot of materials and tools nowadays that are coming out for younger kids to help get them introduced to the idea. I love those materials and those tools. I recommend them. It can help that child type themselves, if that makes sense. And I'm going to add on to that. As children grow and they get older, if you're using those materials and they feel like they're leaning more towards one particular type than another, that may change as they keep going. Because again, at this point, personality is still fairly fluid. Okay, you've got a foundation there, but there's going to be a huge degree of fluidity. They've got Myers-Briggs tests now that are available for children as young as 7 years old. I have been told that those are very, very accurate tests. I haven't seen it yet. My daughter's only 4. But that would be something to look into. Another test that they have come out with for kids recently is the Strengths Finders test. I know I don't do any videos on Strengths Finders, but if you don't know what that is, absolutely look it up. It is my 3rd favorite personality typing tool. It's really not a personality typing tool. It is a tool that is intended to identify your top 5 talents. Strengths, it's a better word to say strengths. Not everything on there is necessarily a talent or a skill. It's just a way of processing things that you're really friggin' good at. And they have like tons of books on, there's a book called Strengths-Based Parenting. I highly recommend that book. The child can take the test. It's for kids as young as, I think 7 is how far down that one goes to. And when you buy the book, it comes with a little code in the back of it that you can go online and have your child to take the test. And the book is fantastic. It's got each chapter is the different strengths, and it'll give you your kid's top 5 strengths. I think there's a ton of them. There's like 35 total strengths, and they list them in order from strongest to weakest. The theory there is that the top 5 are the ones that shape the most you as a person and how you're going to go on to be successful later in life. And so they've got this book that's really good about, if these are your kids' top 5 strengths, these are ways that you could foster those strengths. And that's a pretty accurate test. So I feel more comfortable recommending that than I do focusing on Enneagram at a really young age. Another thing that you need to know is there have been theories suggested in terms of Enneagram in childhood that state that your child will be operating in their core type fairly young, but the wing, whatever their wing is going to wind up being, is fairly high or equal to that core type. In fact, some theories even state that what you see in a child as they're growing up is likely, when they get to be in high school, what will be a wing, not necessarily the core type. I thought that was a very fascinating theory. I heard it a few years ago, and I've been doing a lot of observation since then with other people and their kids, and I've asked a lot of people just to tell me a little bit about their childhood, and now that they know their Enneagram type, what do they see more of that came out of in their childhood? I examined my own childhood and myself, and I think that there's a degree of validity to it. Certainly when I was a kid, I had a lot more demonstrable 7 qualities to me. The 6 qualities were there too, but they weren't anywhere near as noticeable as the 7 qualities were. That could be because 7 in and of itself is a much more noticeable personality. It could also be too, the 7 personality is a very rambunctious personality, very playful, very curious. They like to explore, and that's children anyway, to an extent. You have to keep that in mind as well. What you see right now that you think might be a core type in your child could very well be a wing later. So just something to consider. I try not to get so hung up on how I parent. I don't get hung up really on the specifics of that. My goal in how I parent my child, and I think I kind of alluded to this earlier, is if she doesn't get anything else from me, I want her to know that I'm an emotionally safe place. I want her to know, if she grows up and she's a 1, that she can come to me and talk about things that she did wrong and know that I'm not going to shame her. Tons of grace. It's okay. Everybody does things that are wrong. It doesn't change the way I see you. I love you. In fact, most of the time, the things you think are such a big deal probably aren't even really that big of a deal. I want her to know, if she's a 2, that she's not responsible for my happiness. I'm going to love her if she leaves me. I'm going to love her if she chooses herself over me. I'm going to love her if she hurts my feelings. There's nothing that she's going to do that's going to make me not want her and make me not love her. She doesn't have to perform for me in that respect. If my child grows up to be a 3, I want her to know that I don't require anything of her that's going to be successful. I don't expect her to go to college. I don't think she has to have a house and a car. She doesn't have to get married. She doesn't have to get kids. I don't expect anything of her. I expect and I hope that she will be true to herself, because I believe that in being true to yourself, you're going to find a successful path. Success specific to you and who you are, because you've been true to yourself, not what our culture defines as successful. She can fail. She can do things that most people would find embarrassing or shameful, and she can come to me and say, I'm trying really hard. I did this. I'm sorry I let you down. I want her to know that my response to that is going to be, you didn't let me down. I love you for just you, who you are. You're my daughter. Nothing that you could do or not do is going to disappoint me. I want you in my life regardless of the external life that you've built for yourself. If my child's a 4, I want her to know that no matter what she does, who she is, whether or not she can ever get comfortable in an identity for herself, I want her to know that she is unique and special to me, and that there is no one, period, ever on the face of this planet that's going to love her like I love her. And I will never, ever, forever love anyone else the way that I love her. She has a place inside of my heart and my life and my mind that cannot be replaced with anything else, with any other person. It's impossible. I want her to know that if she struggles to feel like she has any sort of purpose, that from the day that she was born, she changed my life for the better. You know what I really want? If she's a 4, you know what I want her to know? I want her to know that I became a better person because she was born. I want her to know that her existence served as a mirror for mine. And I saw things in myself, good and bad, that I didn't know were there until she was born. And I want her to know that I couldn't have the life that I have today if it wasn't for her, because I would still be so ignorant to those parts of myself. If my child grows up and she's a 5 and she struggles to feel like she's competent in anything, if she feels like she just can't go and make a life for herself, I want her to know that I'm not going to be disappointed. I want to remind her of the things that she's good at, and I want her to know, if you want to, find outlets for these things, classes, anything, let me know. I'm going to put you in a situation that helps you indulge the things you're passionate about as a 5. I'm not going to force her to try to be more active in things. I'm going to wait and let her natural interests come out. And then I'm going to say, well, if you like this, we have this outlet. You want to go do this? This might be cool. And I'm going to try not to make it seem like work, because if it's work, nobody wants to do it. It's got to be fun. So I'm going to take all the fucking responsibility out of it. And we're just going to take the things that she's passionate about, the things that she loves to learn, or the hobby she wants to try, and we're just going to go fucking have fun with it. And if she turns that into some sort of successful career down the line, I'm really happy for her. And if not, I'm going to love her anyway. And I hope that she finds a path in life that she's peaceful with. If my child grows up to be a 6, I want her to know that whatever happens to her, wherever she goes, I'm always going to be here for her. I may not be able to save her. I may not be able to solve her problems, but if she is ever just so fucking terrified, she doesn't know what to do, and she needs someone to hold her so that she can cry while she figures her life out, I'm here all day long. I will be a rock that doesn't go anywhere. Even if I can't save her, I'll be a rock. If my child grows up and she is a 7 and she is trying so hard to find things in her life that make her happy and make her feel fulfilled, or if she looks for things to try to fill an emptiness or to distract herself from a hurt or a lack of nurturing that she got from me or from her father or from both as she grew up, because that's really what the 7 personality is about. I want to make sure that I am emotionally available to her. If I have made her feel in any way that I wasn't emotionally available to her when she needed me, I'm going to apologize genuinely for that. And I'm going to do every motherfucking thing I can to make sure that I am a source of nurturing for her, a source of calm, so that when she is ready to address at any time those feelings of being trapped, of being bored, I'll extend it further to say being trapped with her feelings and her hurt and her needs, and being bored because she doesn't have a stimulation to distract herself from those things. I want her to know that she can come to me and I will absolutely love on her, provide for her in any way that I possibly can to help, not necessarily to make her happy, but to finally give herself a place where she can be emotionally satisfied, content, and complete in any way that I can. If she's an 8, I want my daughter to know that I'm not going to try to force her into doing anything. She can be her own person. She doesn't have to live up to my standards for her. I'm going to love her no matter who she becomes. I am not going to force my advice on her, my faith, the choices that I've made in my life. Doesn't matter. You go and do your own thing. You don't have to come and check with me to see who you are, what you should do. I'm going to let her be her. If she needs to leave and go away and have some independence and, have distance in our relationship, not necessarily because she doesn't like me, but because that's what 8s do. They grow up and they go on and they do their own thing. I want her to know that I'm not going to be angry at her for leaving me. I'm not going to see it as a form of abandonment. I want her to know that my heart goes with her. I wish her well. And anytime that she needs me to help support her in something that she wants to do with her life, provided that, it's not like crime or it's going to hurt somebody, I'm going to be there for her. I want her to know that I'm going to tell her the truth always. She can trust me. I'm never going to lie to her, but I'm going to tell it to her in a way that is considerate of her emotional state. So I'm going to tell it to her in such a way that she doesn't walk away feeling abused or put down or not validated. If she's a 9, I want her to come to me and know that she can tell me what she wants. I want her to feel like she can assert herself with me. I'm not going to ignore it. I'm not going to silence it. I want her to know that I am very interested in who she is and what she wants. And I want her to come to me and tell me those things because I want to have the opportunity to give them to her, or to consider what she says, or to make more room in circumstances and in family discussions and in life for her presence to be there and to make a difference. So those are the things that I focus on as a parent. And I try to fulfill all of those needs now, even as a 4-year-old child, so that when she gets older and whatever Enneagram type she turns out to be, I'm hoping that I will have already demonstrated myself to be the safe person for whatever that core need is. I'll say this too. It's very well intentioned to try to guide a child in this particular way or in that particular way. And again, there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, as long as it doesn't get too particular, because again, you want to give your kids room to identify themselves, okay? But you need to know the unfortunate reality is I have a really hard time dealing with this. It doesn't matter how good of a parent you are, how hard you try, how well your intentions are, how many books you've read, therapists you've seen. Hell, if you are a fucking therapist, I've got my bachelor's in psychology. I did an emphasis in personality theory. I'm going to school to be a professional counselor right now. And even I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. You know what I mean? You need to understand that every parent is going to fuck up. You're going to fuck up as a parent, and that's significant to understand, because when you fuck up, it's going to affect your child. Your child is going to be hurt. In some instances, they may be traumatized by you. They may fear you. They may be intimidated by you. They may feel like they can no longer express part of who they are around you. They may feel like you're not an emotionally safe person to be around. The way that you act and behave as a parent is going to color what they expect of other people and what they expect when they go out into the world, how life circumstances are going to work. It's going to color how they see themselves. You can bust your ass to be a good parent all day long, and you're going to fuck that shit up. It's going to happen. You're going to damage your child, okay? So that's important to understand, because when you know that even with all of the trying and the guiding and all of the things that you're trying to do, when you understand that even then, you're going to fuck it up. My child's 4. I already, in my mind, remember things that I've done that I look back and I say, I really hope to God she doesn't remember that. It's not even memory. The unconscious mind logs that away. They're very foundational wounds. They're happening, and our kids don't even know that they're happening until they grow up and they have a problem and they go to therapy, and then they're like, oh, fuck, yeah, that was my family pattern. It really fucked me up. But I have those things, and I see behavioral traits in her even now as a 4-year-old child, and I think I can kind of tie them back to things that I've been doing that may have given her these conceptions that I didn't want her to get. A case in point, one of the things that I've been trying to instill in my daughter, when she gets really angry or excited, she's a very physical person. Everything comes out physically, and she's not aware of her external environment at all. So she's really high energy, and when she gets excited, she flails her arms around, or she'll toss something up into the air, or she'll do a dance, or she'll run up and throw herself on top of you. And she shows affection in very physical ways and in really weird ways. Like if she likes you, she wants to come up and pinch your cheek. And if she likes you, she'll come behind you and spank your butt. Like she's just weird that way. And one of the things that she'll do a lot is she accidentally hurts me all the time. She'll, in an attempt to try to demonstrate affection, or because she just gets really excited and she's too close to me, or because she's angry. A lot of times on accident, she'll like hit me really hard in the face. She's knocked my glasses off my face more times than I can count. She's one time accidentally punched me, and I mean hard, in the nose. I didn't know a 4-year-old could hit that hard. I thought my nose was broken. She's done a lot of things that have like caused noticeable pain. And one of the things that I was doing for a long time was I would stop her there, and I was very serious about it. And I explained to her, you just accidentally hit me and it hurt me. And you just went on and didn't even say anything. You need to pay attention when you hurt people because you've just violated a physical boundary. You need to apologize for that. And my goal in there was to teach her that you can't just do things with another person's body and just walk away like, oh, it wasn't any big deal. You can't assume that the way that you physically express affection is going to be the way they want it. You can't assume that expressing yourself violently when you're angry is going to be okay. That for damn sure isn't going to fly. You need to, I mean, she can't just assume that because she accidentally bumps into somebody, does this, that, whatever, that she should just go on and ignore it. You need to turn around and say, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. My intention was to teach her that. And I felt real good about that intention until a few weeks ago. I went to pick her up from school, and they were in the gym playing around because it was raining outside and all the classes were done for the day. And she was kind of sitting in a corner in the gym when I went into the gym to get her, and she was crying. And that's not like her at all. My child doesn't just cry for hardly anything. She's happy about everything. She especially doesn't cry in public. So I come in and I notice her, and immediately the teacher comes over to me and she's like, this is what happened. There was another girl here, and your daughter was running by really fast, and she was flailing her arms, and her hand went back and accidentally hit the other girl and hit her in the nose. And now the girl's got a bloody nose, and your daughter's like freaking out and all of this stuff, and she's inconsolable. So I go over there to get her, and she starts saying, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. I'm such a bad person. I didn't mean to do that. Like, I'm a terrible person. I've done bad things. I shouldn't get any stickers today. And I'm just in tears. And I was trying to console her. And I'm, no, you're not a bad person. It was just an accident, sweetie. It happens. Did you tell her you were sorry? And she says, yes, I told her I was sorry. And I'm like, well, okay, then it's over. It's not a big deal. And it broke my heart to see how much it affected her. And I think more than that, when she started saying, I'm a bad person, I don't deserve any stickers, I did something wrong, that killed me. I mean, I was about to cry. I mean, I'm about to cry telling it to you. And I had the thought that maybe the way that I've been approaching the whole learning about physical boundaries thing, instead of actually teaching her about boundaries, although I guess that part is work too, but I think maybe the seriousness that I was approaching it from, I think I've taught her indirectly that if she does that, she's a bad person. And that's not what I wanted to get across. And so that upset me. I don't know that that's what it was, but I kind of, I'm an INFJ, and I kind of put that together. But I use that as an example, all of this to go back and say, you're going to fuck your kids up. It's going to happen. And it's okay, because something's going to fuck them up anyway. They're going to fall into an Enneagram type. They're going to develop behavioral patterns that they believe protect the part of them that got fucked up. They're going to go on the same journey that you have to go on, that I have to go on. They have to become an adult. They have to get themselves into relationship cycles and patterns, and job cycles and patterns, life circumstance cycles and patterns, financial cycles and patterns, health cycles and patterns, right? They have to deal with negative consequences that come from decisions that they make. They have to decide in those moments whether or not they're going to blame all of those consequences on other people, whether or not they're going to say, wow, this sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it, whether or not they're going to say, wow, this sucks, what can I do to change it? They're going to be the sort of person that looks to change external things instead of internal things, which won't get them very far, but people do it. They're going to be the sort of person that decides to be introspective and to start to unravel the things that have fucked them up so that they can begin to have a more integrated Enneagram type, among other things, just to become healthier people that can function better for the sake of their own happiness and well being and inner peace. That's a journey that everyone has to take. No one is exempt from that. And it's a necessary journey because it's going to further help them to shape who they are so that they have a stronger sense of self. When you have that strong sense of self, not when you know how to behave properly, when you have a strong sense of self, this is what makes a functional, happy adult. This is what creates a life that's happy, not because it's everything that you wanted it to be, but because you know who you are when it's not. And having a sense of self isn't taught by figuring out a child's personality type and trying to guide them along what you think that type is. A sense of self is discovered when a child is given options, consequences for the options, when the consequences for those options are put in place, because in the process of choosing, a child learns who they are. And again, it's going to naturally fall into its own Enneagram category, its own Myers-Briggs category, Strengths Finders, the DISC, I don't care, all the fucking tests, right? They're going to fall into their own behavioral pattern, their own personality. That's all a personality is it's a behavioral pattern, a set of behaviors that you adopt that you believe will protect some part of you that needs protecting. We call the totality of those behaviors personality. That's exactly what it is. So I know that that's not a very specific answer. I don't necessarily know that that's what you're looking for, but I hope that it was at least insightful to you in some way. I personally believe that that is a healthier way to parent. I don't expect everybody else to see it that way, and that's okay. Everyone is so different. Parents are different, children are different. There's no manual on how to do this, right? I mean, you go in with good intentions and just wait and see, you know what I mean? Right and wrong are subjective. Good and bad are subjective. Healthy and unhealthy, those are subjective terms. We can look at maybe another person's parenting style and think, oh, that's terrible. But it works for them and it works for their child, and their child grows up and has that healthy sense of self and goes on to live a healthy and satisfying life. Vice versa, we can look at another family and say, wow, they've really got their shit together, and their kids grow up being really fucked up members of society. I mean, you just never know. So anyways, try not to get too hung up on finding the exact path, and just watch your child. Let your child explore and see where they naturally go, and then just go along with them on that and try to keep that not necessarily in check, but just make sure it stays healthy. And by healthy, I mean in a way that doesn't harm themselves or other people. That's what I mean. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.